The serene suburban landscape of New Jersey during the mid-1990s presented a facade of perfect safety and normalcy, with its well-kept lawns, quiet streets, and seemingly impenetrable homes where families believed they were protected from the darker elements of the world beyond their property lines. This pervasive sense of security was violently dismantled beginning in the summer of 1994, when a predator of unprecedented stealth and psychological cruelty initiated a campaign of terror that would target women in their most private sanctuaries, employing methods so calculated and so devoid of emotional expression that he would quickly earn the chilling moniker Dr. No from both law enforcement and the captivated media. The first documented attack established a horrifying template that would define the entire series of crimes, as a young woman was awakened in her bedroom by the blinding beam of a flashlight shining directly into her eyes, completely disorienting her before she could even process the presence of an intruder who had somehow bypassed all her home's security measures without triggering any alarms or leaving any signs of forced entry. What immediately distinguished this assailant from other violent home invaders was his profound and weaponized silence, a trait that became the cornerstone of his terrifying legend and inflicted deep psychological wounds that would far outlast the physical injuries he caused his victims throughout his brutal attacks. He moved through the homes of his targets with an almost spectral quality, never speaking a single word, never uttering a threat or demand, and never responding to the pleas or screams of the women he assaulted, creating an atmosphere of surreal horror where the only sounds were the rustling of his clothing, the applying of duct tape, and the panicked breathing of his victims. This absolute verbal silence suggested a perpetrator of immense self-control and discipline, possibly someone who had trained himself to avoid any auditory identification, or who derived a perverse sense of power from the complete dehumanization of treating his victims as objects rather than people worthy of communication. The attacker's methodology demonstrated meticulous planning and a sophisticated understanding of forensic countermeasures, as he consistently arrived equipped with pre-cut lengths of duct tape or electrical cords for binding hands and feet, a powerful flashlight for disorientation, and likely wore gloves and possibly even a full bodysuit to prevent leaving behind hairs, fibers, or fingerprints at the crime scenes. Despite the intimate and violent nature of the invasions, there was no evidence of conventional sexual assault or theft of valuable items, removing the most common motives for such crimes and leaving behavioral profilers to speculate that the primary drive was the exercise of absolute control and the infliction of psychological terror rather than material gain or sexual gratification. This absence of clear motive made the crimes particularly enigmatic and difficult to categorize within standard criminal typologies, suggesting either a deeply disturbed individual with unique psychological pathologies or a highly intelligent offender who was deliberately constructing an enigmatic persona to baffle investigators and enhance his mythos. The geographical pattern of the attacks revealed a perpetrator with extensive knowledge of northern New Jersey's suburban landscape, as the incidents spanned multiple towns including Westfield, Cranford, and Garwood, all connected by major highways that would allow for quick escape and easy mobility between targeted communities. This operational range suggested an offender who likely possessed a legitimate reason for being on the road at various hours, possibly working as a truck driver, delivery person, service technician, or someone whose profession provided both cover for his movements and access to potential victims through his daily routines. The selection of victims appeared to be based on opportunity and accessibility rather than any specific personal connection, with the attacker likely casing neighborhoods to identify vulnerable targets, women living alone or in homes with easily compromised security, further demonstrating his calculated and patient approach to predation. Law enforcement agencies across multiple jurisdictions recognized the pattern and formed a specialized task force dedicated exclusively to identifying and apprehending the individual responsible for these terrifying silent invasions, pooling resources and intelligence in an unprecedented collaborative effort to stop the predator before he could claim more victims. Despite their extensive efforts, which included increased patrols in affected neighborhoods, forensic analysis of crime scenes, and public appeals for information, the investigation was severely hampered by the near-total absence of physical evidence and the frustrating lack of witness descriptions beyond vague accounts of a medium-built male figure whose face was never clearly seen. Composite sketches based on survivors' fragmented memories produced frustratingly generic images that failed to generate viable leads from the public, leaving detectives to rely primarily on behavioral analysis and crime pattern recognition in their attempts to predict his next move or identify potential risk factors within the community. The case experienced a significant breakthrough in 1996 when one potential victim demonstrated extraordinary courage and presence of mind during an attack, managing to free herself from her restraints and scream for help with such force that she startled the assailant into abandoning his assault and fleeing the scene empty-handed. This incident provided investigators with their most detailed description yet of the perpetrator and proved that he was not an invincible phantom but a human who could be thwarted by resistance and noise, leading to an extensive public awareness campaign that encouraged residents to install improved security systems, enhance outdoor lighting, and participate in neighborhood watch programs. Despite this valuable intelligence and a temporary increase in police visibility in targeted areas, the killer demonstrated his adaptability by adjusting his tactics, becoming even more selective in his targeting, and potentially expanding his hunting grounds to avoid detection, showcasing the dangerous flexibility often seen in highly organized and intelligent offenders. The true scope of Dr. No's criminal activities remains uncertain to this day, with law enforcement officially linking him to at least 6 confirmed attacks while acknowledging the strong possibility that there may be additional victims who never came forward or whose cases were not immediately connected to the series due to jurisdictional boundaries or slight variations in methodology. Some researchers and retired investigators have speculated that he may have begun his activities earlier than 1994 or continued them beyond the last confirmed attack, possibly moving his operations to another state or region where his crimes were not recognized as part of an established pattern, a theory that, if proven true, would make him one of the most successful and elusive serial offenders in modern American criminal history. The fact that he was able to cease his activities without being identified or captured suggests a remarkable level of self-control and strategic planning, indicating either that he achieved his psychological goals through other means or that he passed away, was incarcerated for an unrelated offense, or relocated to an area where his crimes remain unrecognized or unattributed to his pattern. Modern investigative techniques, including advanced DNA analysis and genetic genealogy, offer a glimmer of hope that the case could still be solved decades after the attacks, as physical evidence collected from the crime scenes has been preserved in accordance with standard forensic protocols and could potentially yield identification if matched against contemporary databases or through familial searching methods. However, the passage of time and the inevitable degradation of biological evidence present significant obstacles to resolution, and the possibility remains that Dr. No's true identity will never be known, consigning the case to the growing annals of unsolved mysteries that continue to haunt the collective memory of New Jersey's law enforcement community. The victims of these attacks, whose names and personal stories are often overshadowed by the killer's enigmatic nickname and mysterious persona, deserve to be remembered as more than mere footnotes in a criminal investigation. They are individuals who demonstrated remarkable resilience in the face of unimaginable terror, and whose courage in coming forward helped to build what limited case exists against this phantom. The legacy of Dr. No stands as a disturbing testament to the fact that some predators operate not through overt brutality or grandiose statements, but through silence, precision, and the psychological terror of the unknown, proving that the most frightening monsters are often those who leave no trace beyond the trauma they inflict and the questions they leave unanswered. His story serves as a chilling reminder that safety is often an illusion, and that evil can manifest in the most ordinary of settings, shattering lives without ever revealing its face or uttering a single word, thereby creating a legend that grows more powerful precisely because of its lack of resolution. For the communities he terrorized throughout northern New Jersey, the question of his identity remains an open wound, a puzzle that has yet to be solved and a dark chapter that continues to await its final resolution through either technological advancement or a miraculous breakthrough in investigative leads. What are your thoughts on the Dr. No case and his deliberate choice to maintain absolute silence during his attacks? What does this behavioral signature suggest about his psychological profile, potential professional background, or possible military or law enforcement training that would emphasize such disciplined operational security? Share your detailed theories and insights in the comments below. The archives of the Penance Files are always open for thoughtful discussion and collective investigation by our community of dedicated mystery enthusiasts who believe that every case deserves attention no matter how many years have passed since the crimes were committed. And if you believe that every victim of violent crime deserves justice and that every mystery, no matter how complex or cold, deserves our persistent pursuit of truth and resolution, then please subscribe to our channel and tap the notification bell to join us as we continue to seek answers, honor the survivors, and explore the darkest chapters of criminal history in our relentless quest to bring clarity to these enduring enigmas. Next on the Penance Files, the Bag Murders, Cleveland's unnamed horror. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story from the archives.